feel like a lot of times our mind gets in the way of our action. Our mind gets in the way of expressing ourselves to the degree that we feel is, personable, that we feel is befitting of ourselves. And what I'm coming to realize is, we all have ego. We all have an association with the world. We all have pride. We all have all of that. And sometimes you have to be beyond that in order to act in accordance to how you really want yourself to be and how you actually feel you are. So in saying that, I mean, we have to don't act off of what you think, act off who you are. I feel like holding on to an image of self and holding on to an idea, holding on to, a realization that, you can be beyond these certain things that sort of aim to bring us down. Acting off who you are is sort of transcending your mind, realizing that your mind is not necessarily a console. It's a tool that you use in order to traverse the world. It's something important for sure, but it's not something that is us. You are not your thoughts as so much as you are the reaction to them. How you act upon your thoughts and how you act upon, who you are as a person. And in acting upon thought, while, it's not necessarily a negative thing, I find that it sometimes leads us in situations that aren't good because our mind is often swayed by our emotion and things like that. Not saying emotion is a bad thing, not saying anything of that degree, but to say that, sometimes we don't need to react negatively. Sometimes we don't need to say those certain things. Sometimes you don't need to, put yourself in a position that you'll regret. And what I'm coming to realize is, the more you set yourself up for the future, the more you are present enough to make those choices, the better your life will be. And I always reference it. I call it like throwing myself lobs, but just doing whatever I need to do whenever I think about it, rather than waiting for a time where it needs to happen. I find that life becomes a lot less stressful if you actually take the time to prepare for it, actually take the time to be within it. Like if you have an assignment that's due next week, why not start it today? Why not do it as soon as possible? Then you get to relax. Then you don't have to worry about it. Then that stress of, oh, it's about to be due, or it's like due tomorrow, it never comes. It never comes. And life always is going to have something to be stressful for. Life is always going to have something negative. And it's about getting ahead of those things. And the easiest way to get ahead of those things, in my opinion, is to be present enough to act. Present enough to get rid of those things before they actually cause negative, implications in your life. Life isn't hard. Life just is. It's us that makes life hard. It's us that is, we can only, be as great as we think we are. We can only handle problems we think we are able to handle, or, we have to be shown it in certain ways. And in saying that, I mean that you have to be very observant of yourself, not necessarily analytical, not constantly criticizing yourself, but observant. Be able to realize what parts of you need, a little bit of stimulation, what parts of you need to be, put in the back seat for now. Not to say hidden, not to say behind you, but we have to realize that, we can't treat ourselves like this compartmentalized something. We have to treat ourselves as a holistic thing. Some parts of you shine brighter in certain moments, but that doesn't mean the other parts don't exist. We have to be more personable to ourselves and more intimate. Realize that life is sort of a gift that we have. And if we're constantly in our minds about things, then we let it pass us by. The more we wait for life to happen, the more it passes us by. The more you try to see the life, the less you see. It's like the vagabond quote. Preoccupied with a single leaf, you'll miss the tree. Preoccupied with a single tree, you miss the forest. There's so much that lies ahead of us and within us that we fail to see as long as we're stuck in our minds, stuck in a moment, or stuck in a thought that's unbefitting. A lot of time we overthink about things that aren't within our control. And I always say the quote, if it's not in your hands, it shouldn't be in your mind, because overall, what you give energy to is what you replicate. If you constantly give energy to things that aren't within your control, then you're constantly going to have things that aren't within your control. If you focus on what's in your control, then you're going to see more things that you can actually change, things that you can actually put yourself into in order to become a better person or to cultivate a better life. It's not so much about, just getting above your thought. It's about application of action. It's sort of about, realizing that you don't have to. You can sort of let go. Let go in the sense that, sometimes things come at us in an attempt to pull our strength, in an attempt to test our own mental fortitude and aptitude for just being here. Things that try to strip you from yourself. And I always stress the importance of trying to find those things that bring you back to yourself, because that's the only thing you can control. Those are the only moments where you can actually just be yourself. And the mind is a sort of a crazy something. We're sort of taught to use our mind. We're sort of taught that our mind is our identity, because whatever you hold in your mind ultimately becomes your reality. But that's not who you are. That's the tool you use. That's what you use to sort of attract that certain something. What you use to sort of hit the ground running. You sort of have to allow things to be. And allow your mind to be a tool and not your console. Allow yourself to be who you are. And, basing your actions off of who you are, I find is much more befitting. If you're in a negative situation and you tell yourself you're a positive person, then you're going to probably try to react positively, regardless of how uncomfortable things get. If you're holding on to a certain image of self and you have a certain idea of how you react in certain situations, then you're going to react that way. You're going to make whatever effort you need in order to do that. And it all starts with making sure your idea of yourself, making sure how you think about yourself is exactly how you want it. And what I'm coming to realize is it's not necessarily about doing this, that, and the third in order to feel like it. You can feel like it right now. It's just about the realization. The separation of ourselves and our ideal self, I feel like sometimes puts us back. Not to say be entirely delusional and saying you don't have to work on yourself, but saying that you can be, a person who tries to exemplify how you want to be without doing this, that, and the third, then acting. You don't have to meditate for a couple years before you start being mindful. You can be mindful today. It just takes conscious effort. And, conscious effort is something that's a learning thing for sure. But that doesn't mean you can't try to apply today. I feel like a lot of us wait for application. A lot of us wait to try to use these lessons in our own life when you can use it right now. You can use it in every moment. It's just about having that constant reminder. I used to have a bunch of quotes. I used to have this paragraph on my phone, on my home screen, that I used to read every time I open my phone, sometimes. And it was just about constantly keeping that in the back of my mind. And over time, once you allow yourself to truly be present and realize the importance of the present, then you have nothing but those things. Nothing but those realizations and nothing but yourself. And once you have yourself in your control, at least to some degree, because I feel like it's always a battle for control. There's always going to be circumstances and events that sort of bring you outside of yourself. But in those circumstances, it's about training your mind, using that tool to bring you back to the present. Realizing, I don't have to react that way, or that doesn't really make sense to me. I don't have to take that personally. Those rehearsed things that you've been telling yourself, those things that you've been affirming to yourself, and allow them to become your reality. And that's why I started doing like affirmations. I didn't really realize, the importance or significance, because prior to doing them, I didn't really think that there's something I would get into. But after doing them, I'm starting to realize that they're sort of essential, if not, integral to becoming a better person, I feel. The more you repeat these things to yourself, the more you hear, the more you affirm, the more it becomes reality. You're sort of pressing it into the world, and instead of just allowing it to be a loose thing. You know, telling yourself you love yourself isn't just because you should tell yourself. It's so you know it, so you understand it, so you memorize it. And that's what I think using the mind as a tool is. It's just not necessarily using it to find an answer, but using it to hold on to an answer. Using it to memorize the answer rather than, trying to piece it in parts and trying to justify it through our own emotion. And once again, not saying emotion is a bad thing at all. I love emotions. But saying that, I think now I'm conscious enough to realize when certain emotions won't benefit you in terms of your reaction to them. Like, you can be angry, but that doesn't always mean crash out. Sometimes you have to sit with that anger and realize what it means. Sometimes anger is just telling you that, you feel like you're worth more than this situation. And it's either up to you to whether try to pull it out the situation, give me what I think I deserve, or realize that you don't need to get that because you can give it to yourself. Sometimes taking a step back is the best confrontation we can do. Like, you really have to realize that not everything needs your hand within it. Not everything contains us within it. Not everything is personal to us. While I say make life intimate, I don't mean make life in everything you do personal. Just make it meaningful. Make it mean something to you. Like, I'm not saying every action has to feel like, oh, this is my purpose, this is what I'm doing, but make sure when you're doing something, you're actually doing it. And make sure it's not doing you. Make sure you're sort of allowing yourself to become one with the action. And not let yourself slip through your mind's cracks. Realize that, you only have impact and control over what's in your vicinity right now. Like, for example, I'm in this room right now. There's not anything outside of this room that I can, without my phone, that I can impact and alter. Without, social media, whatever. I'm talking about just me right now in a physical sense. And there's nobody in here. There's nothing in here that's telling me certain things. So, any criticism I heard, previous days, any criticism you heard in previous years, it's not here. It's in here. And you have to get it out. And stop allowing it to control you. Stop allowing it to sort of compound upon this idea of yourself. And realize that you're so much more than, just your thoughts about yourself. You're so much more beyond it. And it's about having that realization that allows us to, at the end of the day, become ourselves. It's not about how you think about it. Stop doing off what you think, but act off who you are. And if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. Thank you. It's a lot more in store. We got a little project. I'm a brief. It's called right now it's called the Selly Collective. All right. Me personally, the name, but I like it. I like the idea. And it's basically what me and my friends are doing. It's sort of like a creative project. And right now we're shooting. We did a couple photo shoots. We're doing some video shoots, some skits, some sort of creative projects, some good stuff. And I'm definitely going to have a little bit on here, have a little bit on there in terms of my B-roll shots and stuff, so you guys can see a little bit. But stay tuned for that. Make sure y'all being intentional. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. There's a lot out here trying to bring us down, and you have to be the one to try to pull yourself up. And if you fall down, just get back up. Sometimes falling down is all affirmation that you were standing. So keep being good, keep being great. Treat yourself like a friend. And yeah.